Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And as Censor breaks his own record here in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Rambo has also revealed that a gentleman's agreement chat is full of pro players that are only looking out for themselves and not interested in the benefit for the wider competitive scene. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to dive into today. First of all, I wanted to mention this. I talked about this back in 2020. I remember I mentioned it in probably one video and I got DMs for the next few months saying, hey Rab, like what was that called again? Can you link it to me? So I'm going to do it again and make sure you guys remember. This is tacmaps.gg, directly tweeted out, and this is the software that some of you guys might remember that allows you to go onto the maps like in the overview and create strats and ideas and stuff like this. This is a very like bare bones build basically, and it's going to improve in the coming updates. But yes, this is basically what happens. You go on Tac Maps, you click on Hardpoint, Fortress or whatever, and you click next and it takes you to this, and you can move the guys around and discuss setups for certain hills and all this type of stuff. Basically, this is what you can do. Really cool software, and yeah, leave a link down below for you guys and hit the bookmark because if you guys forget what it is, then you can still DM me and I'll try to remember what it is this time. It's even got call outs and everything as well, so yeah, you can obviously play around with this at your own leisure. Speaking of Censor, right, I thought this is pretty funny before we dive into it. From Breaking Point last night, obviously Spain took down Costa Rica 7-0. I was expecting this game to be one-sided, but I didn't think the scoreline would be like this. So yeah, 7 says formal potentially, and this even better from Censor. This is even funnier to me because it's Johnny on the other side. We know that Johnny and Doug had their fair bit of beef last season, not only with like money owed or whatever, but Doug reckoned Johnny was not worth his spot in the league, shouldn't have got picked up, all this drama was happening, and they play seemingly a scrim last night where Doug breaks his own phenomenal record and drops 4 kills. Clayster eats your heart out, right? Because of course Clayster had the original 4 in 22 back in the Black Ops 3 days where he dropped 4 in 22 in a capture the flag match on Stronghold to lose the game, and then of course it was Zuma that went one better in the next season where he went 4 in 23 in Infinite Warfare, but of course I'm sure you guys know the story about the lights overhead and all this type of stuff, or the lack of aim assist. Whatever his excuse was, I'm sure it was a valid one. So anyway, those are kind of the legendary moments of players dropping 4 kills in a pro match, and Doug has matched it. 4 in 22 for Doug. I thought a funny stat here on the right hand side here was kills per hardpoint. Only 0.66 kills per hardpoint. Pretty impressive stuff, to be honest, from Doug. So yeah, I mean, this is the thing. 4 kills, man, like, it's not looking good. Johnny's 28-9 on the other side. Doug, we know he dropped 7 back in Modern Warfare 2019. We know he dropped 7 a couple of times in this game already. We saw him drop 6 the other day, and now he's dropped 4. Gets 50-point clubs. Like, man, I gotta say, I feel pretty bad for Kremp and Beans and even Shawnee, because I know that Kremp and Beans are very solid, talented players, and they're not really having the greatest time so far. So yeah, what do you guys think about this for Doug? Because the thing is, look, we know this probably isn't Doug's game at the end of the day. He was pretty good, I thought, at Vanguard, all things considered, but this game, it doesn't really seem to be it for him, and even, Johnny kind of obviously tries to clown him, right? Doug is hitting new records, and Censor, why is he trying to counter the timeline? Because I'm terrible at COD, says Doug. So, I mean, yeah, this is the thing. It's not like Doug just has to suffer this out for 1 year if he's not particularly good at this game. This is a 2-year life cycle, right? Like, it's not easy for Doug to, like, just move through this process, right? And also, I do wonder what this means for the Boston team, because, like, I don't know, to me, it's kind of clear that Shawnee, Kremp, and Beans, plus, like, a really, let's say they had aBeZy instead of Doug, like, they would be fine. I think that's a really good team. But with Doug, it's not necessarily ideal. Now, yes, he does the OBJ, gets in the hill, but even here, he only had 10 seconds in. I'm sure he was flying his life away to try and get in the hard point, but didn't work out for him. So, yeah, what do you think the future is for Boston and also Doug? Because, obviously, Doug is kind of like the key guy on their Boston Academy roster, but, like, do the rest of the guys, surely the rest of the guys think, like, come on, guys, like, surely we could be doing better here, making the pro-am, getting further in tournaments if they could potentially upgrade their SMG position. Or maybe Doug is just deliberately holding back and not showing his true form, because if he did, the league would be absolutely shook. So yeah, I don't know, just doesn't really seem like Censor game so far, to be honest. And this just to look at from back in June, really, where there was some drama between Doug and Johnny, when he like lent Johnny some money and he wanted it paid back, and he was apparently begging Johnny to play on his team, and then Johnny didn't want to, and then he obviously kind of got mad, right? Anything you say to me is void till you pay me the $550. And then there was even more stuff that's kicked off between the two of them in recent months, but yeah, that's come to a conclusion for now. But I mean, look, I said probably only a couple of weeks ago that having Doug broken his record and gone down to 6, like, how low is he going to go? Is he going to get to 5? And he's gone to 4 now. So if he's gone to 4 kills, like, what's to say? We're only a month into the game, less than a month into the game. Like, how many kills can Doug break the record off by the end of the year? Like, he is going to be hitting all-time lows. Let's talk CDL. Season starts very soon indeed. Of course, they've got Scumpy on here because it will be his final season in competitive play. He made it very clear that it doesn't matter what happens this year. The fact that, well, Modern Warfare 2 is in the state that it is not particularly conducive to him staying at least one more season. Quick comment on Las Vegas Legion, actually, because Legion are one of these weird teams where their AR line is much stronger, though, I think, than their SMG line, and they will be one of these teams, I think, that needs to turn up at the start of the season, and if they don't, I think their kind of future is most certainly in doubt. Now, you know, is Aches right to say they'll be an online team? Will they be a team that, you know, struggles on LAN but delivers the goods online? Basically what London were last season. I'm not so convinced.
You know the team last year who like got all their points online and like none of their points on LAN? Like that's gonna be Legion this year, bro.
No way. You think so, Clay? Pat? You think so?
Sorry, I think
it's always good to start the season off hot, man. It always is. You get that confidence, you get some good early points, you get a good little bump. Clay's losing composure in the chat. Look at him, he's losing composure. You know? But
bro, T just ordering cookies at 4 a.m. with ice cream on them, bro. Like they're an online team.
I think it's more likely Vegas will be a team that actually does rather well at the start, or at least for the first major has some decent match results, and then it kind of falls off over time. That's kind of my expectation. Not necessarily that they'll just be onliners, to be honest. I don't really think Clay and Temp necessarily are online players. I think, if anything, that team should be marginally better on LAN. But, you know, still, I don't know. The Clayster effect, Clay obviously didn't agree with this in the chat here, and, you know, Temp does reckon he's right about the cookies for TJ Halley. Just quickly to look at their schedule here, because, like, Vegas don't have the easiest one. As I said the other day or earlier today, the easiest schedule probably goes to New York because they play London, they play Ultra, which is tough. They play LAG and Boston. So, you know, that's not too bad. Whereas Vegas, they play Thieves. So there's only 4 qualification games over 2 weeks. So, usually we have 5 over 3 weeks, but it's 4 over 2 because it's a compact schedule here in December. So Vegas play LA Thieves, they play Florida Mutineers, they play FaZe, and they play Rokkr. So not an easy set of games at all, but, you know, could be worse, I suppose. Let's dive into this GA drama then. The last few weeks we've had all this talk about the GAs coming into effect, the gentleman's agreements between the pros, and the pros deciding, you know what, let's get rid of X, Y, Z, you know, all this stuff. Now, the M4 for now is still allowed in the game. We wonder how long that's going to be the case for, but the rumor has it from especially SMG players that it's really all the ARs in this gentleman's agreement chat that make the calls that are keeping the M4 in. They want it gone. The ARs, in fairness, want the Vaznev gone, so who even knows what's going on there. But each team has a representative that goes into this chat between the teams, and they decide between them if they get maybe a 9 or 10 majority out of 12 teams, then they will agree to that thing being gone. We've seen plenty of things banned, attachments on snipers, attachments on certain weapons. We've had like, you know, already the Kastov 74U was banned very quickly at the start of the game, the STB, other guns as well, and then now we have the 2-gun meta we effectively still have. Now, Rambo reckons that the guys in this chat are certainly not looking out for the community and not looking out for the betterment of the scene. They're more looking out for themselves. And I thought it was kind of interesting his point that he reckons that certain players, you guys can guess who this might be in the comments section below, just don't even care about their own team. They're more interested in their own personal agenda and how things can work for them the best rather than the performance of their actual roster.
It definitely shouldn't be like 10 ARs though, I'll tell you that right away. Especially, I think there's just some people that are like we have some people in the community that are just known to look out for themselves. Like, and they're clearly in that chat. Like, that's just like we need like 12 people who are spokespersons for their teams, not 12 people who are just going to like do things on their own kind of. Which is kind of like, that's the problem with the GA chat.
So this I thought was quite the statement from Rambo, right? Saying that there's some players that are kind of known to just look out for themselves, that are in this chat and are maybe predominantly the type of players that are in this chat and are the representatives of certain teams, and they make their decision not based on even what's best for their team, right? It's kind of a known fact in theory that the teams in the chat make decisions based on what's best for them. If you're Vegas Legion and you're having a great time in the current M4 dominant meta with your AR focused team, with Temp and Clay instead of TJ and Prolute, you're probably kind of likely to keep the M4 around. That makes sense. But, you know, the idea, and that's obviously one of the issues with GAs in the first place, is that teams are going to make calls based on what's good for them, not necessarily what's actually fair and balanced and reasonable to make the game play the best from a competitive perspective. That's only one issue, though. If you then jump on top of that, the problem that certain players are looking out for themselves, they actually don't care what their team thinks, or like they have less interest in what their team thinks. They're more interested in their own performance. Let's say you're an AR player player enjoying the M4, but your team is actually, you know, quite good with the SMGs, or your SMG players have said, yeah, we're really struggling here with the using the Vaznav against the M4s. We think we'd be better off getting the M4 gone, having a worse AR being the meta. But the AR player who's then in the chat is like, actually, yeah, I'm not so convinced about that. I want my KD to be good such that I, you know, keep getting my spot for future seasons. Like, that's kind of the give and take here, right? And even Bance says to Slashio a couple of days ago, and Bance reckons, yeah, the ratio of ARs to SMGs in the chat, like, I'm guessing it's heavily in favor to keep the gun in, kind of implying as well what Rambo has said, that certain players are just basically looking out for themselves here rather than making decisions for the betterment of their own roster. Or what should really be the case, for the betterment of the actual competitive scene, only getting rid of stuff that actually is going to improve either the meta or the quality of gameplay or the skill gap or something like this. That's the theoretical reason behind GAs, and that's the conversation around GAs every single year, is that it gets to a point where players are making calls based on not just their own team, but apparently based on themselves as well. So who are these players? Like Slasher has said that he's not even in these chats anymore making these calls. So you're imagining it's largely going to be the main AR players of some of these rosters. So I guess feel free to speculate on that one in the comment section below. Just to finish out the video with this actually from the COD League. So yeah, just the final thing we'll mention. They've come out with the top 10 pro COD players. Now I was really hoping here this would be like a top 10 all-time list. It would have been more spicy that way, but the pros voted for their best players of last season. And this list already actually is very interesting to me. So I'm just going to scroll through here. CleanX gets number 10, so congratulations to CleanX. And kind of a surprising one to me maybe, CleanX, just because like he wasn't really at his best this season necessarily. Arcitys was number 9, so they, you know, talk about him and interview him and stuff. Sib gets number 8, so all of this like you know, makes a reasonable amount of sense, I suppose. And then you get into number 7, which is Kenny. This I think is also probably fair enough, just because Kenny was so good at the end of the year but so bad at the start that it kind of averages around here. It was the same thing really in Black Ops 4, where Kenny was like pretty bad at the start on the Sorg, and at the end of the year on the Maddox was like different gravy, and therefore like was really highly rated at the end of the season. And then of course we can see the 6th player is Pred. This was actually a big surprise to me. I thought Pred would for sure be right up there. Like we had Pred I think seconds in our breaking point rankings. The pros put Pred in 6th. So exactly why? Because I thought Pred was like I thought he was clearly the best SMG in the game at the end of the year at least. So the fact that the pros only voted him 6th is quite interesting. Maybe they don't think maybe they think Pred's a bit overrated, or, you know, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Because I thought Pred for sure, in terms of last year's performance, should have been in the top 5 at the very least, and he's only 6th. So thought that was interesting, because I guess Simp and aBeZy are going to be above him here on this list. Maybe it's not, I don't know, maybe some pros didn't think that it was off last year, or maybe it wasn't based off last year and it's just kind of best COD pros right now. I don't really know, but thought it was interesting nonetheless. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.